Rashmi, I was going through some data and I found that the cost of the solar power in last 50, 60 years has gone down by 84%. And the cost of wind down by 49%. So why don't we see that solar wind revolution? If the cost is coming down, why aren't we witnessing a revolution? It should have been a revolutionary change.
That's an interesting point. Thank you very much. What has happened is that we are a coal-consuming country. I mean, even the US is consuming more coal than we do at the moment. But we are changing. In the last 15 years, what has happened is that the price of solar power has come down compared to coal-fired power. We have large number of coal-fired plants, but we also have solar power plants now. We have wind power.
You are right. Even the coal consumption is up by 16% in the last...
Yes, but coal is around 4 rupees per unit today. But solar power is around 2.5 today. So it's lower than, but it is a variable cost. The cost of, the power when the sun is shining, but when during the night, there is no sun. So you can't produce solar power in the night. Similarly, wind power, when the wind blows, you have wind power. So the variable cost of solar and wind power is lower than coal today, but it is not enough for us because we need power during the night when we have the maximum peak demand of power. So we need to store energy. And that storage system is not available to us today along with solar and wind. So if you include the cost of storage on the cost of transmission and the cost of banking the power, then the total cost goes higher than coal. So coal is still a very reliable source of supply for us, just as nuclear is. So nuclear fire, the hydroelectric plants, nuclear fired plants and the coal-fired plants, they are still the largest source of power because they are producing power 24 hours of the day. And they can raise the demand, according to the demand, they can raise the production as and when you reach. But it cannot happen in solar and wind. So what we need is a new technological innovation along with solar and wind to store the energy which we produce during the day.
So is this the reason why that the integration of the DISCOM with the non-renewables is not taking place, which the people have been writing papers on?
That's one reason why the DISCOMs are slightly averse to using a renewable energy, because they have long-term purchasing power agreements with the state governments, with the consumers. They are accessing power 24 hours of the day. So coal plants are still able to supply them power at a lower cost. But if they use only renewable energy, they can source the energy, but they cannot supply it when the peak demand goes up. So that time they still have to resort to coal. So they are slightly reluctant to depend entirely on renewable energy. So we need a technological innovation, number one, and we also need a slight change in the energy policy, because energy pricing, because most of the DISCOMs are constrained to supply power to the consumers in agriculture sector, industries, at fixed prices, which are controlled by the state governments. Unless they have flexibility in fixing the prices according to demand and supply, they will find it difficult to rely only on renewable power. So we need a lot of change there.
So then what remains India's biggest challenge in context of, we have set up priorities, we have very high and ambitious targets. How do we reach them? Because the global supply chains have become complex. The wars on one cold war and another hot war like Ukraine and Taiwan has complicated Indian sector. And the reason why I'm asking you is, if we want to, for example, work the lithium way, then we are dependent on a country. And then repurposing the lithium is another challenge in itself, because once the battery is done, what you do, even that can create a lot of pollution in the soil. So what remains our biggest challenge in terms of achieving those goals, ambitious goals?
Our goal, in fact, is ambitious, but I must tell you, give you a pleasant news, that our goal is to reach 50% of energy production capacity from renewable sources by 2030.
Correct.
That's one of the goals which Prime Minister has set for us. And that includes 500 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity, not in terms of generation capacity. And we have already reached against 50%, 42%. So you can see the 2030 is 8 years away. And in 2022, 23 as we talk, we have created a capacity of 42% of the total electricity generation capacity in the country is from renewable sources. Solar, wind, nuclear, hydro, all put together. But 42% capacity. Capacity is not what you consume. What you consume is generation. So in terms of generation, we are still at 20%. So from 20%, if we really want to change the entire energy system on renewables, we still have a long way to go. But we are making good progress. In the last 15 years, the progress has been remarkable. I mean, you won't believe the capacity of solar power was just about 10 gigawatts in 2008 or 9, if I remember correctly. 10 gigawatts.
10
10,000,
gigawatts.
which is 10,000 megawatts.
Okay.
Can you believe how much it is today? It is, at the moment, it is 170 gigawatts, 170,000 megawatts, just in the last 15 years. So it's a huge, tremendous progress.
How was it achieved that, sir? You must have watched it closely.
Investments.
What were the basic things which were done?
Investments, number one, and target set by the government that the renewable energy producers should set up. And they were given contracts, long power purchase agreements. So that is what started incentivizing the investments in renewable energy. And as you say, see, the technology costs have started coming down. See, investor basically looks for return or profit.
Correct.
And if the cost starts going down, they will invest. And that is what is happening. The cost of solar power technology has started coming down in the last 10 years because of scale, because of the high targets. And they get assured returns. So they have invested more, and we have been able to create that capacity.